Kimura traps is mainly a defensive component. Okay, there are some offensive aspects, but it's primarily just a way to reverse a lot of attacks that your opponent may be applying to you. Most effective from when someone is attacking your back, when someone is attacking a single leg, and there are some applications when your opponent is playing guard against you and they're seated. There are some applications as well, but there's not as many. I would say, like, once you get the Kimura Trap, the reason it is so good is there isn't a lot of variety. Once you get the grip, the main goal is to take the person's back. And if you stop along the way to attack a submission during the Kimura Trap, you're sacrificing a lot of its positional power. So we're mainly going to be focusing on the different positions that you can actually put someone in a Kimura Trap, and it's called a trap for a reason because they are trapped in it and they kind of have only one option, really, if you do it right. And if you've ever seen me compete in no gi, or even in the gi, I use the Kimura Trap constantly. Whenever someone reaches their arm in the danger zone, which I'll clarify where that is, it's always a green light to go for the Kimura Trap. But it is so powerful that you might find yourself using it all the time, like me. And sometimes I have to actually stop myself because it's so built into my instincts now that I just take Kimura Trap whenever I see it all of the time. And it's too effective, and so I just only use that, and I have to try and switch it up. All right, so let's get right into it. The first aspect of the Kimura Trap. The most effective use of it usually is from a single leg counter. So let's come on this side so they can see a little better. So this works especially well regardless of if his head is on the inside or the outside of the single leg, as long as this arm is in this area. So anywhere between my legs here to about my mid-chest is a Kimura Trap opportunity here. So if his arm is available from between my legs to my mid-chest, so this means even if he has a body lock, the Kimura Trap is still available from all these positions with varying degrees of success and your ability to actually perform the movement. So if he just shoots a basic single leg on me here, all that a Kimura Trap is just reaching over the arm, getting the Kimura itself, and this is where the only real variety starts, and it's just how you go about putting this person down to the ground, eventually taking their back or taking the arm. So I'm not going to walk through the details right now. I'm just going to show the movement. I kind of just sit down to the ground, and it's going to roll him over with the Kimura power. My stomach is over the back of his head, so I'm putting weight on him if he tries to posture up to get better finishing power on this takedown. And I just take a little hop forward, and you'll see he just kind of rolls backwards. And we land in a position here like this. The Kimura Trap is especially powerful as a back take, so once this grip breaks, he has to kind of make a decision which way he's going to turn. Usually they turn into you. And when they turn into you, it allows me to throw my hook. Just the top hook, and then you use that hook to pull and throw in the second hook, okay? So that's what a Kimura Trap looks like, the basics of it. Now, this is so effective because it's taking an offensive movement from your opponent where he's shooting in on a takedown and letting you counter their wrestling with jiu-jitsu. And I think that's why it's really powerful, because it takes advantage of one of the main things about wrestling, which is to put your arms out and extend them. And in jiu-jitsu, this is dangerous, to extend your arms from any position, standing, sitting, guard play, passing. You usually don't want to extend your arms unless absolutely necessary, because an extended arm is a broken arm, as they say. So wrestling can kind of break this jiu-jitsu rule, and that's why this move is so effective against wrestling. And I'll show you again kind of how this works. So the first thing you want to be looking for with a Kimura Trap is just picking which side is your wrist control hand. There's going to be the wrist control hand and then the actual figure four hand. So I'm looking to control the same side wrist, but I don't do this first. I first reach over for my control arm. So this is the control arm, and this will be the wrist control arm, we'll call it. So this one isn't really gripping anything. It's just going over his back around the armpit, and that lets me put the figure four on my hands. And now this is very important to do this first, because the right hand can actually be locked anywhere. Like I could even hook it up over his elbow like this, not even on the wrist, and I would still be able to get the leverage, because the leverage comes from this hook right here. If I sit from this position, even without a Kimura, he's still going to roll over. The Kimura grip itself is just really effective in case he tries to escape the maneuver. If he tried to back away or get out or let go of the single leg, I still have the arm like this. Whereas if I'm here, he could potentially scoot his head out and maybe get out. Okay? So when someone shoots on you, this is usually something you do when your defense fails. So I wasn't able to sprawl and he gets my leg. And if he's putting his head too low, I can get the Kimura Trap. If he keeps better posture with head up like this, it can be a little bit more difficult because it's harder to get over his head. I can still clear it just by pushing it to the outside, and that's probably my best bet. And I actually prefer to go for the Kimura Trap when their head is on the outside, so I like to push their head there when I do it. Now when I get this position here, I don't always commit to the roll. Usually what happens is they continue trying to take me down. And as they continue to try and take me down, that's where the power comes to finish. And it's just a matter of you falling. They can take you down or you can fall intentionally. Either way, the hook behind his armpit is what's giving me the power to roll him over, in addition to the Kimura Trap on the wrist here. So if he does not roll with me, so don't roll with me, Miha, we'll do this very slow. If he doesn't roll with me and tries to hold, eventually the arm becomes disconnected from the other arm because of the weight of my body. And if he tries to stand up here, you can see how the leverage on my left arm over his armpit and tricep is holding him down. The lock itself is very powerful because if he continues trying to posture up, that's where the pressure goes onto his shoulder. Then I have this nice lever here. All I do is just push it in the direction of the Kimura, and you see he has to unwind his body to actually relieve the pressure on his shoulder. Now from here, this is the tricky part, because if he just lays here, that's fine. I can just come up on top, no problem. I still have the Kimura grip, and I could even finish from here pretty easily. But most of the time, your opponent's not just gonna let you come on top, and they're gonna try and come on top. If he turns into me, I showed you what to do earlier. There's some space that opens up here below the ribs, and I would try and get my bottom knee into that as I throw the top foot in, but sometimes that doesn't work out. He might turn up too fast and I just don't have the opportunity. As long as I get the top hook, that's what I'm looking for. And it can go over the hip or over the shoulder, but whatever I get, the intention is to get the other leg up and through so I can pull him over. So this is a common finish for the Kimura Trap itself. Here, just hooking, because then you can transition into reverse triangles, crucifix stuff, different attacks, doesn't really matter. Okay? But what happens if he tries to turn away? If he turns in, I'm trying to hook there. If he tries to turn away, we'll go over that next. So I'm going to clear his head, roll through. He rolls, and now if he tries to turn away, you can see it'd be very hard for him to get up to his knees, because the more he turns, the more his arm gets extended. If this happens, I'm doing the same thing, and I'm just still trying to get over his head or catch an arm for a crucifix. Whatever I can control with my legs, I'm taking. Whether it's a hook, an arm, a head, whatever the case, I'm trying to lock control over his head to keep his arms separated as much as possible so that I have my choices as far as actually finishing, okay? Now the Kimura Trap is a double-edged sword because it can be used on you very easily, and if you are proficient with it and you know its power, you need to respect it, because once you're in the trap, you're going to go through the motion, they're going to roll you, and then you're going to have to choose let in or out, and you're going to be in a tough spot because they have such an advantage from that position. And if you don't believe me, just go type Kimura Trap on YouTube and you'll see everyone do it all the time. It's just super powered position. There aren't a lot of really good counters against it, and so if you give them the opportunity, they're going to take it. And a lot of you probably have the question, how do I get out of it? And that's the hardest part, because it's like some of the other systems where if you don't respect it and you get caught in the system, there's not a lot of ways out. There are ways, but they just have such an advantage that it's probably going to be pretty ineffective. Okay? So if I shoot on someone and they take the Kimura Trap on me, I have to respect it. If I don't respect it, I'm going to go through the whole motion of him taking my back or finishing me or trapping me in a crucifix, something of that nature, right? So if I shoot here, and he takes the Kimura Trap, and I feel him reaching for the Kimura Trap, this is a very good time. It's right here happening in front of your face. Don't let this happen. If you start to see him reaching for the Kimura Trap, you need to let go and bail, all right? If letting someone get this grip on you, you're not going to finish the single leg. And even if I do finish the single leg, I can hold on all I want, but I land in the same spot. The same issue that I was having earlier, or the same issue that he was having earlier, where I can't just escape this position. I have to choose, where am I going to turn? If I turn in, he's going to take my back with this bottom hook and then the top hook, like this, and I have to escape the back. So obviously that's an issue. So first, the best counter you can do when someone tries to do this to you, sorry if that was too loud, it gets pressed up against my throat sometimes. If someone's trying to do this to you, let's turn this way. The second I get the single leg and I see someone reaching for this, is just to tuck my hand to my chest, and then look at this. I just duck my head out here, and I just lift my arm up, and he's just going to pull his arm out. You're not going to do some sort of Aikido movement, but it can kind of just save you from getting caught in the Kimura Trap. So I would shoot, I feel him reaching for it, I just reach and let go. And this can actually expose his back if you do it quick enough. But that's the main thing you're looking for. It's just that people get really tunnel vision on that leg, and they start looking to hook, and they continue trying to finish and don't notice that the lock is happening. And if I just finish in the normal way, he doesn't even have to do anything. I could even be past his guard, and as I take him down, I'm gonna get twisted over. And when that bottom knee comes in and that top knee comes in, go ahead and keep the lock. Even if I block and continue trying to turn up, there's a ton of pressure on my shoulder. The more I try and turn up, the more it hurts. And I keep getting forced back down to the ground. When you're doing the Kimura Trap, there's a few things that you can do to make sure that you're applying it correctly and that your opponent won't have the chance to actually escape. First thing is with the left arm, like I talked about, going up and over his back. I want to lay my weight on top of him. The reason I do this is because if he postures up, I don't have that same ability to catch this arm. So I want to be making sure that his head is down. And this is just good single leg defense as well. With an overhook or a whizzer, you can keep someone's head down pretty effectively and then switch to the other arm like this. This far hook is what I'm looking for, just on the forearm or just hooked here. It doesn't really matter. Just this is enough. Even if you're not able to secure it because he's actively moving around, just having this hook here, as he continues to finish the takedown, you're going to be able to lock that Kimura up somewhere in the transition. Just stay focused on the goal. Don't worry about sprawling your legs. Just catch this and then start going with the flow. And then when he turns to actually take me down, that momentum is going to help me roll him over. And look how I use my leg. I can use my leg like a butterfly hook to help tilt him up and over. All right? Now, sometimes they'll hang on to your leg with just the arms, usually. They won't be able to keep your leg there. But with this, you can see how this might be a problem. So all I'm trying to do is just bring my hands up over his head, all right? If I keep him here, he's pretty strong, and I don't really have a lot of wind up to break this grip. So I just bring it up over his head, and I just do a big stomp here to break that grip, and then immediately push his hand back down towards his hips. The only way someone's going to escape this position is if you keep this arm too compressed. If I keep it really tight by his ear, he's going to be able to turn in because his elbow frees from the lock. The reason this works is because his tricep is stuck on my bicep. Turn this way a little less. There we go. This elbow is the one I'm controlling. I want to make sure this elbow can't get to the mat here. And to do that, straightening his arm is the best thing you can do. Straighten it and push it towards his waistline like this. This creates this really interesting dynamic where the more he turns into you, the more it Kimuras him already. So by lifting this elbow up and not letting it bend to actually escape, when he tries to turn towards his knees or towards me to get to his knees, the lock starts putting pressure on his shoulder immediately. Whereas the more I move this up, the more he'll be able to turn. All right? So if I get this to his mid-chest and he starts to turn, he's not going to feel the pressure on his shoulder till about here. Okay? As opposed to if I keep it down by his waist, if he starts to turn, he'll feel the pressure immediately, right about here. So don't let it come up to the middle chest here. And especially don't keep it up here. It's okay to do it for a second to break the grip, but I'm making sure the arm is fully extended, and the second I would feel him start to turn into me, I would push it back down towards his hips. Because you do need to free your leg from this position, okay? And it just can be difficult from here. It's okay to use your other foot as well if you feel like that's an option, but usually just bring it up for a second is enough. He's not going to turn into that in that one split second. Bring it back down here. Now, one thing that I also like to do that is a good little detail for you is don't put this elbow down. Leave this elbow up, because if he turns in too much too quickly and sort of panic, I can use that to scoop his head and catch his head as he's trying to turn. Even if I'm here, if I can catch this quickly, then I don't have to worry about putting pressure on his shoulder. The lock itself will keep him down on the mat, so he can keep trying to turn now. And if he tries to turn, I can continue taking his back like normal with even less movement than earlier. So keep this elbow up, keep the arm extended, and then constantly be looking for an opportunity to turn to your knees yourself. Because if I can switch my hips here and start attacking the Kimura immediately, I don't have to worry about him getting up anyways. I can just finish the Kimura. You don't necessarily have to wait too long, all right? So that's kind of the basics of the position. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you want to make sure to never miss the latest jiu-jitsu technique uploads from this channel, hit the subscribe button, and there's also a notification bell that you can ring to make sure that you get all the notifications for everything that we do here on the channel. And bonus round, there's a text number that you can text. Go ahead and just text the word Keenan to this number, and you'll get the grappling handbook, which is a guide I'm putting together to teach you how to get the most out of your training. It'll include flow charts and technique illustrations and all sorts of little tips and tricks that'll help you get more out of your time on the mat. And it's information that you probably won't be able to get through just a YouTube video. It's a little more involved, I would say.